We're surrounded by these tiny, invisible computers that are, well, watching our every move. They don't have keyboards or screens, but they hold our secrets. In this explainer, we're going to pry them open and see just how these silent witnesses can solve crimes. Okay, imagine this for a second. You go to check your bank account, and the money is just gone, completely wiped out by a bunch of withdrawals you never made. You're confused, you call the bank, and that's when the real investigation kicks off. For a guy named Joe, this wasn't just a thought exercise. After his account was drained, the bank traced the problem all the way back to a single point-of-sale terminal at a local shop. The police seized the device, and when the forensic experts crack it open, they find it's been rigged with extra hidden electronics. This isn't just a machine anymore, it's a full-blown crime scene. So, to understand how investigators can crack a case like this, we first need to get a handle on what they're actually dealing with here, because these are not your typical computers. They're called embedded systems. And what that really means is they're tiny, dedicated computers built into a larger device to control a specific function. Think about the chip that runs your microwave, or the one that deploys your car's airbag. They have one job, and they do it quietly, totally in the background. But here's the thing. Despite their size and their very specific purpose, these systems all follow the same basic blueprint as the computer on your desk. They've got a brain, the CPU, a way to talk to the world, that's the input and output, and, crucially, a place to store information. And that memory, that's where the clues are hiding. And trust me, they are absolutely everywhere. I mean, think about the office. It's not just your computer. It's the phone on your desk, the copier down the hall, the router providing Wi-Fi, even the smart card that lets you in the door. Every single one is a potential logbook of activity. And then your commute, you're practically swimming in them. Your car is literally a network of embedded systems controlling everything from the airbags to the navigation. The traffic lights you stop at, the machines you buy a ticket from, the speed detectors, all of it is run by these little hidden computers. And of course, they're in your home, your TV, your microwave, your thermostat, your alarm system. They all have a tiny digital brain quietly recording data. The crazy part is we are completely surrounded by potential witnesses, and we don't even realize it. So once investigators have a device like that compromised payment terminal, they face their first and maybe most critical challenge. How do you get the data out without accidentally destroying it in the process? It seems like such a simple question, right? You find a device at a crime scene. Do you pull the plug? Well, the answer to that question can make or break the entire case. This is the classic dilemma. If you keep the device on, you might preserve crucial data that's sitting in its volatile memory, or RAM. You can think of this as the device's short-term memory. It's holding stuff like active passwords or encryption keys. But it all vanishes the second the power is cut. The risk, though, new data, like an incoming call, could overwrite the very evidence you're trying to save. But if you turn it off, you instantly lose all that volatile data. Gone. Even worse, some devices are programmed to permanently erase deleted files when they shut down. It is a massive, high-stakes decision. So the first rule of thumb is to cut the device off from the entire outside world. That means blocking every network signal, Wi-Fi, cellular, Bluetooth, you name it. Investigators will often place a device inside something called a Faraday cage. It's basically a special box that blocks all electromagnetic fields, creating a kind of digital quarantine zone. Okay, so once the evidence is secure, the real work begins. And the methods for getting the data out, well, they get progressively more intense. We're talking about moving from simple software commands to something that looks a whole lot like brain surgery. The first step is always the gentlest. It's called logical acquisition. This is kind of like plugging your phone into a computer and syncing your contacts. The investigators use the device's own software and standard ways of communicating to pull out all that user-level data. It's non-invasive, which is great, but it often misses the good stuff, like deleted files and hidden data. So when the logical methods just aren't enough, investigators move to level 2, and they start looking for a secret backdoor. And very often they find it in something called a JTAG port. This thing was originally designed for engineers to test and debug circuit boards, and it essentially links all the key chips together. For a forensic investigator, it's a golden ticket. So here's how it works. By connecting to that JTAG port, an examiner can completely bypass the device's operating system. They can send commands directly to the memory chip, basically saying, hey, give me the data at this specific address. And the chip responds, sending the data out bit by tiny bit. It's like having a direct conversation with the device's memory, and you get a complete, raw image of everything that's on it. But what if JTAG is disabled? Or what if the device is just too damaged? Well, that's when investigators have to turn to the last resort, methods so invasive that they risk completely destroying the very evidence they're trying to recover. Welcome to Level 3, Physical Extraction. And this is where things get really intense. On one hand, you've got tools that use controlled hot air to literally melt the solder and lift a memory chip right off the circuit board. And on the other, you have microprobes so incredibly fine, they can be used to delicately repair tiny, broken connections on a damaged chip. It's a job that really requires the skills of both an engineer and a surgeon. And this is the ultimate prize. A tiny micro BGA chip, physically removed from the device. This little square contains everything: the operating system, all the user data, deleted files, fragments of information, the complete, unfiltered digital fingerprint. And now it can be placed in a special reader to give up all of its secrets. So, how does all this high-tech surgery help us catch the people who drained poor Joe's bank account? Let's jump back to our crime scene. By physically removing and reading the microcontroller from that rigged terminal, investigators find the whole list of stolen account numbers and PINs, but they also find a mobile phone inside that was used to send the data. Extracting its memory reveals data from old SIM cards, which leads the police to a suspect. They find out he recently rented a car, so they go examine the car's GPS. And there it is, a log of waypoints right next to other compromised payment terminals. A clear pattern emerges. The suspect is arrested, and get this: DNA found inside the terminal is a perfect match. The case is closed, all thanks to the data they pulled from this chain of silent, embedded witnesses. And that really leaves us with a final thought. Every single device we use, from our car to our coffee maker, has a memory. They are constantly recording tiny fragments of our lives. They are all silent witnesses, just waiting for the right person to ask the right questions. What story would your devices tell?